Okay, Jesse and Mercedes. There's already a battle in court in that very short arraignment today over the fact that the prosecutors were pledging a speedy trial, and Donald Trump's defense attorney called that absurd.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. It is a question of whether or not it happens before the election or after the election. I think this big central question and legal question is whether or not Trump wins the presidency. Because if he were to win it, then there's the question of, does he pardon himself of these charges, or does he have the investigation and these charges immediately dismissed? I think the timing of it becomes a question in terms of the election, but in terms of the political fallout, I'm looking whether if he actually wins or what he does with this.
Go ahead.
Oh, sure. This is a blueprint of what the prosecution is going to look like. It's a labyrinth. You have so many witnesses, so many acts that trigger the violations under the law. That's why the defense attorneys spoke up and said there's no way you'll have a speedy trial, given what's facing this president.
The judge did say that the Trump lawyers have 5 days to file a request for more time. Will they get it, do you think?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, and especially when you consider there's the 6 co-conspirators who you have to imagine they're working out deals in the background, and that's going to complicate the case and delay it as well. I wouldn't imagine that Trump's teams are not going to file for an extension at this point.
There's a meeting with the judge on August 28th at 10 a.m. At that point, the judge will pick a trial date. As we've seen this happen already in Florida, that doesn't mean it'll stick.
Exactly right. And that's a great point, because there are so many things that need to happen, especially where all of this, there's 8 gigabytes of documents, information, and evidence that has to be given to and has to be poured through from the defense. It's probably likely be a summer trial.
In the meantime, the judge warned President Trump not to communicate in any way about the facts of this case to anyone except his lawyers. And she said it is a crime to try and influence potential jurors, and warned if he failed to comply, a warrant for his arrest would be issued. Those were strong words.
Pretty standard, though. I mean, put Donald Trump away for a second. We hear this admonition a lot in cases. In this case, where he's basically accused of trying to interfere in the process, I am a little concerned here that for his sake, I hope that he actually listens to it, whether he speaks to these witnesses directly or inadvertently. This is a very serious admonition, and of course the court will take it seriously if he ends up talking to them when he shouldn't.
And I need to point out that this is just today on social media. He said online he's being arrested, quote, for having challenged a corrupt, rigged, and stolen election. He said in another post that he is facing, quote, an unfair venue and an unfair judge. I mean, is anybody going to enforce this order that he not talk about all this?
There's going to be a gag order. I can just imagine this judge being before judges for a long time. They get very frustrated when they can't control the litigants. Exactly as Jesse said.
Mercedes, who is going to tell former President Trump to stop talking? He's also running for president. He's going to be talking.
Exactly. But there's going to be, it tips the scale, though. He's really talking to the prospective jurors. And if you try to influence prospective jurors, there can be criminal sanctions that flow from it. So those admonishments, yes, they're standard, but they were resonating.
But we remember in New York, the judge there said you can talk about, you're running for president, you can talk about the case, you just can't talk about the specifics of discovery and the actual materials. So
that's not what she said today, though.
It's a little bit of a limit. I imagine there has to be some leeway given he is the front runner.
Okay, Julie, I want to get to you because Trump also posted on social media today, quote, I need one more indictment to ensure my election. Given his poll numbers, is he right?
I think there's 2 ways you can look at this, Elizabeth. First of all, we do see that these indictments and the coverage of these indictments and arraignments, I should say, definitely give President Trump a boost with the Republican primary base. You know, they view this as the Department of Justice as being biased against former President Trump, that he is a martyr, a victim of this political witch hunt, that he likes to call it. However, at the same time, these cases and these trials cost quite a bit of money. So I think, you know, at some point the money is going to run out. Of course, President Trump will continue to fundraise off of these indictments.
He's already fundraising today.
He's already fundraising today. Absolutely. He'll continue to do that. But it's going to get harder and harder to have to pay for this when you're also trying to, partly, help fund a campaign, trying to get yourself out on the campaign trail, living up to his lifestyle, that kind of a thing. So it's going to be, it could be difficult for him going forward. But for the time period in the primary, it seems to be helping him.
But yeah, because that's exactly, I was struck by an article that you wrote today where you said basically this indictment today, an arraignment today, isn't bad news for Trump. It's bad news for all of the other Republicans running against Trump.
Yeah, and a few reasons for that. Number one, you and I are talking about Donald Trump. We're not talking about Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Tim Scott or the others. It's all about Donald Trump. He's getting that free earned media where you're having the other campaigns having to pay to put these advertisements out and to boost their name ID nationally. Ron DeSantis is not as well known as Donald Trump in the national sense or even in some of these early primary and caucus states. So there's that issue. And then on top of that, for a Ron DeSantis, who's the closest person Donald Trump has to a rival in this primary, he has to walk a fine line of acknowledging these indictments and the arraignment and not ticking off Donald Trump's primary base because the two of them share a primary base. So what you have Ron DeSantis doing right now is saying, if I'm elected president, I'm going to revamp and change up the Justice Department.
Right.
So
thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.